Good morning and welcome to another Trade Show Guy Monday Morning Coffee. It is August 14th, 2017. I'm Tim Patterson, Trade Show Guy and host of this weekly live, mostly live anyway, vlog/podcast. You can watch it live on Monday mornings at 9 Pacific on Facebook by just going to Facebook and finding Trade Show Guy blog, or catch the video recording and the audio recording on tradeshowguyblog.com. It's also a podcast. The audio you could go to iTunes and search Trade Show Guy. No doubt you'll find it there. I'm the author of Trade Show Success, 14 Proven Steps to Take Your Trade Show Marketing to the Next Level, and owner of Trade Show Guy Exhibits, a project management company where we work with small to medium-sized businesses to, well, take their trade show marketing to the next level. So I'd like to talk about business on this podcast. I do like to talk about business. It's not strictly events and trade shows. After all, businesses on all sides participate in trade shows of all sizes. In fact, if you're at a trade show as an exhibitor, you're either a business or a nonprofit or a government organization, so you have to adhere to business principles to make things run properly, which brings us to today's guest, who is Lynn Maria Thompson. According to Lynn's LinkedIn profile, I was peeking, Lynn, by the way. She, quote, focuses on book ghostwriting, book manuscript editing, and author marketing services. With a background in marketing, she helps people write books they can actually sell. Ghostwriter of 3 published books, author of A Professional Writer's Ladder to Success, a series of ebooks, and editor for other authors' work in all genres. Highly rated speaker at writers' conferences and groups. So, Lynn, it's great to have you on the show today. Thank you for taking some time. Well, so I want to talk a little bit. In fact, when we were in the green room here a few minutes ago, you mentioned that you were involved in the trade show world for a while. Give us like a 10-second or 30-second recap of that. So you have some event experience, it sounds like. I'm curious to know a little bit about that.
Sure, I do. When I was in the corporate world, I worked in phone book recycling. There's a dying industry for you, but we used to partner with local communities all over the Southeast to recycle old phone books. So we had public-facing trade shows that we would work at, so where we would try and educate people on why they should recycle their phone books and what happens to the phone books after they get recycled. And then we also attended a lot of industry events. So we went to waste industry and recycling industry events, and it had a corporate exhibit there that we exhibited to try and get those people to partner with us on the community partnerships so that we could get all the expenses for them covered.
Well, very interesting. And so I'm glad you have that background. Now you are kind of a ghostwriter, is it what you've done, you said, for a while, and you've got a new book coming out. So let's talk about the book. Maybe a little bit, how did you transition it, and what caused that transition?
Well, corporations go through downsizings, and when I got downsized twice in 3 months, I kind of looked around and said, I don't really want to play this anymore. I looked at other jobs in other companies, and there just wasn't anything that suited me. And I thought, when I looked back over my career, I said, the things that have gotten me acclaim and that have really been enjoyable to me have all involved writing. So why don't I try doing that? I started attending writers' conferences, and I started speaking at writers' conferences, and finding that there was quite a bit of work to be had out there doing that. And so I started editing other authors' manuscripts, writing other people's books, and now I'm finally writing one of my own this year. I've had all these things of my own that I wanted to say, but I had to do work for other people. So I'm finally getting to my own stuff now.
Well, and I have to tell you, the title is great. The Feline CEO, How Following a Cat's Lead Can Make You a Better Business Leader. Obviously, there's a story behind that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, writing work kind of fell off with the recession. And in late 2008, early 2009, things kind of started going slower. And I said, oh my gosh, what am I going to do to make a living? So I launched an e-commerce site selling products for cats and cat lovers. I've been living with cats for about 30 years, and I had a lot of frustration in not being able to find things I wanted for my cats. The pet supply stores carry a lot of things for dogs, but then they'll have one little corner over there for cats with hardly anything in it. And I wanted all kinds of things that I wasn't finding there. And yet when a cat show would come to town, they'd have all these vendors with these really cool products. So I knew they were out there. And I said, well, how can I bring these to other people? Because I know they have the same frustration. Started researching that and found that there was a lot of misunderstanding in the world out there about cats. A lot of people really don't understand them very well. So as I researched cat behavior more and started observing what my own cats were doing more, I started to realize there's a lot of wisdom behind the things they do. And some of that is applicable to business leadership. I've read a lot of business books over the years, and I found that a lot of the advice in there was a little more than common sense. And cats operate with a lot of common sense behind what they do. So what I'm doing, taking different cat behaviors, talking about why cats do those things, and then applying that to business leadership. And it really is working out well.
Well, it is an interesting hook to put a business book under, because you can read like what the Beatles did. You find blog posts, how the Beatles would have been great trade show marketers. I think I've written that one, as a matter of fact. So you can find parallels everywhere. So you've been a ghostwriter, you've been a writer. So what decided? What got to the point where I'm going to do this book now?
I was at a Shank Mines meeting back in December. And as we were going around the table, because I'm a writer, as everybody would express their issue that they were facing, I would say, well, do you have a book out? And they would say, well, no. And I said, well, you really need to write a book. And so they got to me and I explained my issue, and they said, well, do you have a book out? And I had to say, well, no, I don't. They said, wait a minute, you're the one who's been telling us all we needed a book out, so you don't have one? So it kind of lit a fire under me to do that this year. So that's what I've been working on this year, and I've been interviewing CEOs, and I'm still interviewing and writing the book now. So I'm looking to finish the manuscript by October so it can be released early next year. And it's an exciting time because I'm learning a lot and getting exposed to a lot of different ideas by interviewing all these great CEOs that I'm talking to. And so it's really a fun project for me.
And I will echo that, because I needed a book. I wanted a book that I could use as basically my calling card for my business. And so I did that 2 years ago. I was deep into it, and it was published late 2015, and I still use it. I've given away hundreds of copies of it to potential clients. It's a great calling card, and some of them sell. That wasn't really my point, to sell a bunch of books, but it's on Amazon, and if people want to find it, they will, and I do get a few sales a month, which is kind of nice. So cat behavior, why cat behavior? Let's get into that a little bit more. What are some of the things that you noticed that are worth telling as a business angle?
Yeah, it's a different perspective to look at business things. I know everybody kind of gets stagnant every now and then. Everybody kind of gets stuck. And so I think looking at things from a different perspective can give you a fresh take on things and maybe move you forward when you get stuck on something. So cats are known for things like sleeping, for instance, and sleep is really important in functioning at your best. And if you're running a company or you want to run a company, you need to be functioning at your best. So your sleep habits are really important. So take a look at that. Things like hunting. Cats are always hunting. Even when they play, they're playing at hunting behaviors. And so being alert to things in the marketplace and things in your industry, and being plugged into all the new media that are out there, because just things like this podcast, 10 or 15 years ago, this didn't exist. So this is a new type of thing that if people are not plugged into things like this, they're not going to be in tune with what's going on in their industry and in the marketplace as a whole. So there's a lot of different cat behaviors that really translate well when you think about it.
And so who would really benefit from reading this book?
I would think if you're a CEO who feels stagnant or you're stuck on a problem that you can't get past or something, it would be a nice fresh perspective for you. Or if for example you want to be a CEO, you're still climbing that corporate ladder, it might give you some good ideas on behaviors that would help you to get there.
So you're in the home stretch as far as writing, but you're going to wrap up the manuscript in October. May I ask how you're publishing it?
I am. I have a publisher already, and it's a self-publishing house. But it's the one that I went with is Black Card Books, and they do a lot of marketing material for you. They're not cheap, but I have been working with author marketing long enough to know that none of that stuff is cheap. So what they provided for the money seemed like a good view to me, and so that's who I went with. They're a Canadian publisher, actually.
And your website that does the cat stuff, is that the one that I think you sent me this? Is it oldmadecatlady.com? Is that still this one? Okay.
That's it. I have over 2,700 products on there for cats and cat lovers.
Wow. I bet that's kind of fun to run that business too. You know?
Yeah, it's,
Without,
it
you
was
could
a need
shop
that
in
I
your
saw in the
underwear,
marketplace that nobody seemed to be providing. And so I decided to fill that need. And I thought, surely there are other people like me that have the same frustration over not being able to find the things they want for their cats, because everything in the pet stores is all dog, dog, dog.
Well, and of course, I want to mention this full disclosure. We're both members of Peter Shankman's group. I've been in since, gosh, it's coming up on a year, like October. Well, October's still a few months away. So, but yeah, and you've, how long have you been? I'm just curious how you ran across Peter.
I joined last August, so I've been in about a year. I think he only started about a year and a half ago. So we're both pretty much in the beginning kind of people.
Yeah. So, let me ask you, when the book comes out, how's a good way to find it, or can they get in touch with you, or latch on to something you do at this point? Can they find you online other than the oldmadecatlady.com?
Yes, I'll be having the Feline CEO will be on Facebook and Twitter, and I will have a website for it that's being developed now. The marketing team's already working on my marketing pieces, and it's kind of exciting to see those as they come out. You know, I have business cards now that have the branding on there. I don't have the website up yet, but it's coming, so it'll all be done by the time the book is out in January.
Well, very good, Lynn. Again, great to have you on the show. I do have a trade show tip of the week. This is, after all, the Trade Show Guy Monday Morning Copy. And the tip comes from Inc.com from an article published several years ago. I'm just going to give you one tip. It's still relevant advice. I really like this. And so I'll make sure the link gets in the show notes. Be on the offense and not on the defense at a trade show. Some companies who think of trade shows as an expense tend to defend their turf from new competition. Others see trade shows as investments. Those are the companies that end up building real relationships on the floor. Trade show coach Susan Friedman is quoted as saying, "Don't just buy space and expect miracles, because that's like Russian roulette. Maybe you win, maybe you won't. It's an expensive exercise just to find out if it doesn't work. In order to make your trade show experience an investment, set measurable objectives and figure out how to reach those, and then stick to them." So that is my trade show tip of the week. I know when we talked last week, Lynn, that they offered to give you a chance to share one good thing. I'm just curious if you had one.
I do. This is a book that I was reading. I found it about a year ago, and I was reading it, and it has a fun little title. It's called "How Big Is Your Butt?" A lot of people have dreams, and they have things they want to pursue, but they always have somebody, well, I can't do that right now because of this or that or the other. And this book has exercises in it, just like the Feline CEO will have a workbook that goes with it with exercises that you do to try and move yourself forward. This book does the same kind of thing. It makes you do exercises in each chapter to actually put the principles in the book into action. So I kind of like this.
So how big is your butt? We'll make sure we put a link on the show notes as well. And finally, I have to share one good thing. I went to see the movie Atomic Blonde over the weekend with Charlize Theron, and frankly, it turned out to be much better than I thought it was going to be. It's based on a graphic novel, but more than just a cookie cutter comic book characters. It takes place in Berlin in November 1989, just as the Berlin Wall is coming down. Spy versus spy, West versus East, all this stuff. England's involved, America, the East Germans. James McAvoy and John Goodman also star. And if you love great 80s music, you'll love the soundtrack. Oh my gosh, I was really, really impressed all the way through. So it was a fun movie. There was a couple of really terrific fight scenes, choreographed fight scenes, and Charlize Theron is a badass, I'm telling you. So
Awesome.
very admirable for a lot of reasons. Anyway, so I'd give it 2 thumbs up and 5 stars. Really enjoyed the movie. I will be on the road next week, so I already have next week's podcast in the can, as it were. It's a fun interview with public relations expert Diane Weiss-Jones. I'm sure you get a lot out of it. So just log on to the blog next Monday or subscribe to my newsletter at tradeshowguyblog.com and you'll find it. And again, Lynn, thank you for your time this morning, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim.
Have a great week. All right.
Bye.